If rim to rim is at the top of bucket list hikes in the Grand Canyon, then the shorter but nearly as difficult rim to river is probably second.
I always tell people that rim to river is a great measuring stick. If you can do rim to river, you can probably do rim to rim. The elevation profile is about the same. Rim to rim just happens to be a little bit longer, and logistically it's a lot tougher because you have to figure out where to park your car and all that stuff.
The traditional rim to river route we'll be following today will take us about 7 miles down the majestic South Kaibab Trail to the Colorado River, and then just over 9 miles up Bright Angel Trail to the finish in Grand Canyon Village.
Rim to river is an iconic hike, just over 16 miles total from South Kaibab Trailhead all the way to the river and then back up to Bright Angel Trail. Add a little bit more if you want to go all the way to Phantom Ranch and have some of their famous lemonade. So, I'm going to take you along for rim to river today, show you what it's all about, the stopping points, what to do, what not to do. I've done this hike many, many times before, and I get excited every time too because this is about as good as it gets. You're at the Grand Canyon, one of the 7 natural wonders of the world. Going to put in a lot of work today on the legs. There's always a sense of accomplishment when you finish the rim to river hike in the Grand Canyon. So let's get at it.
Dropping in from the South Kaibab Trailhead, we're almost 4,800 feet above the river, which will descend over 6.5 miles to the Black Bridge, where we'll finally cross the Colorado.
The first thing you're going to do is go down a steep set of switchbacks called the Chimney. They're steep, but they're short. In the wintertime, they're probably going to be iced in. You're going to need traction for your shoes, micro spikes, in order to deal with the ice because it stays shaded and icy here just about all winter long.
Just below the chimney, a warning.
That's Victor Vomit, as he's so affectionately known here in the canyon. That's a warning sign that's there to let people know that what they're doing is dangerous. It's there to warn, more the day tourists that come here and want to hike a little bit down into the canyon, that this can be really dangerous. So don't go too far unless you are prepared for it. Don't be like Vic.
The first stop on South Kaibab comes just a mile in, at the iconic Ooh-Ah Point. Thanks to social media, Ooh-Ah can be crowded depending on the time of day, as it gives you the first sweeping view of the canyon.
A lot of people make that their destination when they come to the canyon. But don't worry, if it's too crowded, the views are even better than that the farther down we go.
Sure enough, in just a couple of more turns, the canyon truly reveals its magnificence.
First time I ever did this hike, this is what I remember more than anything else, this spot right here. This is just below Ooh-Ah Point on the way to Cedar Ridge. And it's the place where the canyon just, for the first time, just truly opens up all around you. And this is how the views are just about the entire way. This is why South Kaibab is the greatest trail in the entire world, in my opinion. It's so special.
The next stopping point is Cedar Ridge. There are pit toilets here, but it's important to know there is no drinking water available anywhere on South Kaibab. You need to fill up at the top and check the Park Service website before you start to make sure the water is turned on at the bottom and along Bright Angel for the climb out. And always, always, always carry a filter in the canyon just in case.
Cedar Ridge is 1.5 miles from the trailhead, so it's a pretty good day hike for a lot of people, but we're going rim to river today. We still got a long way to go, another 5 miles before we even get to the Colorado.
5 miles and more than 3,500 feet of downhill hiking, and one big trap to avoid.
I remember the first time I did this hike, I went down too fast because it feels so easy going down. And you're so excited, you're running on so much adrenaline when you're at South Kaibab and you're at the Grand Canyon maybe for the first time. So you got to be careful about going too fast because going down feels easy. But the problem is, once you get to the bottom, you still got to go back up. So you can do significant damage to your legs, and it makes the way out a lot tougher because your legs are hurting and sore and your joints are hurting. So be careful going too fast on the way down.
After a couple of switchbacks below Cedar Ridge, the descent becomes more gradual until Skeleton Point, which is 1.5 miles from Cedar and 3 miles from the top. No water and no toilets here, just great views and maybe a resting mule train if you're lucky. Then things get serious as we hug the canyon wall and start down the tough red and white switchbacks.
These are the most formidable switchbacks on the South Kaibab Trail. About 500 feet of elevation loss in a very, very short distance. Oh, it looks like we're gonna come up on a mule train here as well. Cool. Always love seeing the mules.
If you are lucky enough to see a mule train, just step to the side and follow the directions of the guide.
Okay. Have a great day, man. Good to see you.
The next stop down South Kaibab has us at the very edge of the Tonto platform at the tip-off. There are toilets and a shelter here, and it's the last stop before the river.
Below tip-off now, and you can see the Black Bridge down there, which means we're at the bottom. And you can also see the Colorado is running green today. It's usually either that color or a muddy brown. In my opinion, it's a lot prettier when it's green, so this is a good day.
The trail from tip-off to the river is steep, 1,500 feet of elevation loss in just over 2 miles. But you'll see the river just about the entire way, and know you're getting closer and closer. When you see the tunnel and then the light at the end of it, you'll know you've made it. 6.5 miles and 4,780 feet of elevation loss have you at the Black Bridge and the mighty Colorado River. Another quarter mile or so has us at Bright Angel Campground.
At this point, we are at the bottom. You can either go up this way to Phantom Ranch, about a quarter mile or so up the trail, see what Phantom has to offer, and have some of their famous lemonade if you so desire. Or you can cross the creek right here, get some water, use the restrooms, which are just over there, and then you're on Bright Angel Trail, and you cross the Silver Bridge and be on your way out. We're about 7 miles in, got about 9.5 miles to go, and it will all be uphill. We've lost 4,800 feet so far. We'll gain 4,400 feet on the way back out on Bright Angel, because South Kaibab is about 400 feet higher than Bright Angel. But a lot of work to do, long way to go. This is where it gets serious. So it's a good time to fuel up, make sure you have enough water, drink some electrolytes, have some food, even if you don't feel like it, because it's hard to feel like eating when you're on a big hike like this. But it's important. And get yourself ready for the long trip up Bright Angel, which is a whole different hike. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. Let's go do it.
The main trails in the Grand Canyon are well maintained and easy to follow. Bright Angel Trail essentially starts at the Silver Bridge, about a half mile downriver from the Black Bridge we just crossed. But it offers a completely unique experience. You can look down and see the river for the entire 500-foot crossing. Once on the other side, we quickly run into the often talked about Colorado River sand.
All right, if you've been in the forums or the Facebook groups, you've no doubt heard about the infamous sand on Bright Angel. Now, I'm just gonna give you my opinion here. The sandy parts and the difficulty of the sandy parts, probably the most overrated part of Bright Angel Trail. The sand is not that bad. A lot of those groups make it sound like you're walking on a beach, you're walking through that kind of sand. It's not like that at all. First of all, it doesn't last for very long. Second of all, it's not overly thick. Third of all, if you just stay to the far left or far right of the trail when you're going through the sandy sections, it's a little firmer and a little easier. But don't worry about the sand. I'm telling you, just don't worry about it. It's not that big a deal.
The first mile after the bridge is one of the coolest of the hike. You're basically walking along a trail carved into a cliff with the Colorado keeping you company the whole way. Then we'll turn a corner and arrive at the River Rest House, where there are toilets and some shade, but no drinking water.
It's cool walking along the river and seeing the mighty Colorado for so long. Now we're alongside the creek, and next up will be Devil's Corkscrew. We're gonna follow this creek for about another mile, then we're gonna start going up the Corkscrew, which is when it starts to get steep. Then we're into Havasupai Gardens, and we keep on moving.
With Havasupai Gardens just over 3 tough miles from here, this will be the longest section of Bright Angel without a rest house. The climb up the infamous Devil's Corkscrew is the toughest we've had to this point. At the top, there's a great spot to get a picture of the corkscrew, which is just a warm-up for what's still ahead. Shortly after, there's a spot where you might feel like you've lost the trail. Well, you haven't. It's just that this part isn't so much along Garden Creek as it is through Garden Creek. Tough not to get your feet wet, but I've always found my socks dry pretty quickly. Before long, we enter the long, lush oasis that is Havasupai Gardens, 4.5 miles from the top.
About halfway now from the Silver Bridge to the top. We still have about 3,000 feet of elevation to get to the south rim over those 4.5 miles. So it's a lot of relatively steep climbing. The best part of going up Bright Angel at this time of the day, late afternoon, is it's shaded in. And having shade going up Bright Angel, the hardest part of the hike, is key.
The climb out of Havasupai Gardens starts off gently, but after about 3/4 of a mile, reality sets in.
Now we begin to climb. We're kind of meandering since Havasupai Gardens, and now it's going to be uphill for the rest of the way. About 3.5, 4 miles. We still have to go. You'll hear people say that the last 3 miles up Bright Angel are killer. Most people say that. You'll find out why. Just be ready for it. Here we go.
A 1.5 miles up from Havasupai Gardens is the 3-mile rest house, part of a network of perfectly spaced breaks on Bright Angel.
Probably the best part in terms of your mental well-being on Bright Angel is that you can break this hike into 1.5 mile chunks. So you've got Havasupai Gardens at essentially 4.5 miles. Then 1.5 miles after that, you have the 3-mile rest house. 1.5 miles from here, we've got the 1.5 mile rest house. 1.5 miles after that, we're on the south rim. So it's more manageable when you can break it up into those 1.5 mile chunks, as opposed to just slogging on and on and on, not knowing if you're ever going to get to the end. There are breaks every 1.5 miles from Havasupai Gardens up. It's a great way to keep motivated and just have little victories along the way. Because from 3-mile rest house on up, this is the hardest part of the hike we're entering. More than 2,000 feet of elevation you're going to gain the last 3 miles, so it can be a battle, especially if you're finishing a rim to rim, or if you're finishing a rim to river, and you already have a lot of miles in your legs. So break it up into 1.5 mile chunks. Before you know it, you'll be there.
For us, the next victory comes at the 1.5 mile rest house.
We have 1.5 miles to go. Actually 1.6, but don't tell anybody. Almost there, sun setting, beautiful night in the canyon on the rim to river hike.
The last push can be tough. This is the point where just about everybody is ready to be done. When you start seeing the flocks of tourists and finally pass through the upper tunnel, you know you're close. 16.5 unforgettable miles, and rim to river can be checked off your bucket list.
If you can do rim to rim, which is 16.5 miles if you don't go to Phantom Ranch, 17.5 if you do go to Phantom, if you can do that, you can do rim to rim. So it's a good place to measure yourself, see where you're at, if rim to rim is your goal. But rim to river in itself, an iconic bucket list hike in its own right. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'd appreciate a thumbs up on this video, and if you'd subscribe to the channel, because all we want to do is spread the word and bring you more valuable content that helps you have the best possible experience here at the Grand Canyon. See you next time.